Hello everyone, Carmen, one of the food modelers here at Firestorm. So we've been working on this environment for the last, 2 months, 3 months, I'm not sure, a long while. And we'll obviously be continuing with that today. Hi FBI, how are you? I'm good, thanks. What are you working on lately? So yeah, we'll be continuing this environment. I'm not quite sure what we'll be doing today. In the sense of, yes, we'll be working on the environment, but I'm not sure where I'll be focusing. It might be more on the tower, actually. Let's actually check. I've just opened up the file. I usually prefer making a pretty clear plan about what I want to cover before I start streaming. But in this morning's case, I was slightly behind schedule. So I have, in fact, not decided. Right, let us see. Okay, so last time we adjusted the window panes of the tower. Just wasting time procrastinating, got client work and it's so weird. Why weird? I've had my fair share of weird client work to do. So you've got my sympathy there. But at the end of the day, if it's what the client wants, it's what the client wants, right? Let me just quickly grab my concept, or rather mood board, because we're not actually basing that up directly upon the concept. Right. So in terms of the house itself, something I did want to check is what parameters can be changed at this stage. We've got, let's start with the front. We can pop between those two. That does nothing. Alright. This is the size of the door. Let me just reduce that. Right, and that scales, the stair scales, but why do we have a stair size separately? Wait. Just quick check. Yeah, weird low poly robots. I work like 5 minutes and then I get bored and then have to texture human models. Just now I got a new work. I have to make a ninja raccoon and rig and animate as well. Well, it sounds like you're keeping busy, which is brilliant. But yeah, no, sometimes, especially with low poly objects, it can get a bit boring. I've found podcasts sometimes help. So I often listen to podcasts or audiobooks while I'm working on, let's say, the more monotone type of work. So there's that. Right, so the stair size is not getting utilized, so I'm actually going to remove it. I think what I'm going to be doing first, before I decide on what exactly I'll be working on today, I'll first refine things a little bit. Not getting paid for human texture via like 10 models. It is for my friend's company. Oof. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. Though I will say, I often would argue it's better to work for, let's say, a low amount rather than nothing at all. Of course, there's exceptions to that rule, and I oftentimes do free work for friends. But the reality of the matter is you could have been doing client work in that time. So in the event you get to a phase where you have to pick between completing your paid client work versus doing work for somebody for free, make sure that you're not tying up too much of your time in that regard. Because at the end of the day, we all need to earn money, we all need to pay the bills. So, due to that, I get it, but be careful. Yeah, that would be my take on that. Right. So, okay. That door back. Do I want to be able to change the window size on these? Probably not. It's fine. And then for the left, we've got nothing, and for the right, okay, okay. Got it. That's where I left off. So, point is, we've got quite a lot of control on specifically the right side of the building, not the left. I've decided that's enough. I'm not gonna bother going in and editing this further just because it's going to take a lot of time, and I think I don't need it to be that flexible. My dad doesn't like me doing CGI. He's like, get a government job because there is a job security and I don't like that repetitive job. Honestly, I'm with you there. I would go insane in a government role. Granted, it comes with the... What is going on here? Hey, that's for that side. Right. The thing is, yes, job security. But would you be happy? And at the end of the day, you can, especially with remote work. It depends where you are and what country you are. But for example, I can earn more through doing 3D work freelancing. I will not speak about working for a studio here because working for a studio here is an interesting experience. But bottom line is, through freelancing for international companies, I can earn more than I would in let's say your standard government role. Yeah. So it's not like you're limiting yourself too much. And at the end of the day, making art is fun. I told him I won't be happy, and he doesn't care. Well, honestly, I think if you show him you can support yourself for it, and you can establish some form of a job security, etc., he'll hopefully start backing you on that. At least that was the way with my family. Once I showed that I can make something from it, and that type of thing, they were really supportive. Right, so let's get some order in this chaos. Let's get some order and chaos. This is the right side window. Right. Now this will be going to subnets in a second, but I'm just labeling things quickly because I've been slacking on organization lately. That's windows left. And actually window frame left, mind you. But yeah, it's difficult because this is definitely a field where family support firstly helps if they support you, but secondly, it's difficult to convince them to support it just because oftentimes they don't understand exactly what we do, and people tend to disagree with things they don't understand. So there is that as well, because this is an unconventional field. It's relatively new. Again, the industry is what it is right now. But I will say, I think the industry is slowly, I know there's been layoffs again, but I think it's slowly starting to recover. I did show them I do help financially. I got my new computer from my earnings. That's brilliant. No, I think give it time. Give it time. I think they'll support you eventually. Some people take longer than others. It's tough, but it's the unfortunate reality of the matter. Right, I'm actually going to remove that and place that in a subnet. It's not Shift S, it's see? Yeah. Window frame. Right. So let's do that. Shift C and then window frame. But it is nice once you can start, I don't know, investing back into things. And once you've got a couple of clients that are paying, etc., etc., etc. And congrats on getting the computer. Computers are insanely expensive right now. I wish I bought mine 2 years ago. I think it probably would have costed probably let's say half of what I paid. And we've got a 2 week wait for it, 3 week wait for it. I'll get it in 3 weeks because they need to order parts. It is what it is. All right, Windows, right. So that's getting to the window frame, right. Now I could also plop these into another subnet, but we'll see how far I get. Window frame, right. Now I'm also trying to decide how much flexibility I want in terms of the actual top floor. And I'm tempted to say not a lot, but that could just be me being lazy. I got mine last December. I got it from a used marketplace application. Someone built this in early 2025, and I barely used it for months. I got it at a very reasonable price. That's incredible. Well done on finding it. Honestly, at this point in time, getting say second-hand PCs or pre-loved, so to speak, is often the better approach, just due to the cost of things. Right, so we've got that. Oh no, why did I label that right? That's actually left. Oh, my sense of direction. I'm a this way and that way person. I'm not a left, right, north, east, west, etc. type of person. Right, so I did tell you the applications, the specifications I have. No, you haven't. I think. You might have, but quite frankly, my brain has been dying, so feel free to tell it again. Right, so we've got that. These are getting plopped into those splits. Why have I got a complete cluttered mess over here? Center corner plate? What's that? Platform. I don't think my platform exists anymore. Let's merge that. Okay, that's a Boolean. I am indeed correct. Where did my platform go? i7 motherboard. Wi-Fi RAM. That's a really good PC. It's better than my current one. And I'm on a laptop. Laptop is always interesting. Mine has in fact started overheating, it turns out. That's why it's been switching off. But there's a great specs. Have you found that has made your workflow easier? Right. So let's see. I've totally lost the plot of this network. I don't know what I was thinking. So these splits goes into these guys. It was like $1,000. I can imagine. Computers aren't cheap. Even good deal ones. It doesn't mean it's cheap. It just means it's cheaper than the more expensive ones. Or let's say the new ones. But it is still a good deal. My current PC costs less than that. Actually, no. I lie. It costed about that much. If it's in USD. So, and that's for WIS specs. So come to think of it, that's a brilliant deal. Right. These guys are the bevel. Not the bevel, the Boolean. So let's actually plop a thing here. Boolean, polybill, and that gets plopped into. I've broken something somewhere. I've broken something somewhere. What have I done? These go into here. Right. Why are they no longer split out? That is that, so that needs to go. Into here. And then that also needs to go into there. And then this one and that one, sure, I can merge there. See where these are coming from. This is that. I don't think that needs to be going into there. I wonder at which point this thing broke, because it was functional when I started working on it. So what did I break and when? Alright, that's still functional. Then these guys, copy, where are you? Yeah, those need to be removed. I think. And then that needs to go into there. And that needs to go into there. That needs to be booleaned and merged. Finally. Good part was the storage here. 2 terabytes of SSD. I had a 1 terabyte HDD already, so I got a 3 terabyte now. That's brilliant. Honestly, without storage, I'm currently in that problem. I've got, how much storage do I have? 500 and something gigabyte. It is SSD, but honestly, it's on. I mean, you've seen. I think I posted it in the Discord, and you've seen what my storage is like. It's like chock-a-block full. Right. 4 terabyte external and 5 internal. You've got a big good memory. Yes, that is indeed what I had. Not very good. Right, so these get merged. I can plop that into the boolean. I'm not sure what this attribute delete is doing. Let's remove it. Will I regret it? Possibly, but let's hope not. And then, in terms of the rest of these, the corner planks are relatively organized so that can stay there. Vertical planks is fine, platform is fine. I'm still not quite sure where my platform is going. Is it connected up to anything? That goes down into this merge, but it's gone. Why? It's not in the bottom, it's in the middle underneath Windows. That's where it is. That's why. Okay, that's fine. It can stay there. And then in terms of these guys, I'm actually going to move them because I want all the same nodes in more or less the same location, so they're easier to find. So I'm going to keep my splits over here. The windows, I'm going to move a little bit up. Let's see what we can do here. We're getting somewhere, slowly. Should I have done this organizational stream? Probably. You guys get, watching pretty boring stuff at the moment, but we'll switch to the fun stuff in a second. Right, so that is finally organized. Let's give it a label so we know what we're working with. And this is Windows. Just Windows. Alright, so that is organized. The rest is more or less organized. I think I'm happy enough with that. Now, in terms of what we'll be working on next, We've technically got our small building going, so that is good. What I would like to do next is maybe slightly different one. Right. I'm gonna pop out of here. I think let's merge that all together. I did start adding colors to this last week. I'm not going to continue with that because that is also very tedious to watch. So, we are going to do another geometry node. And this is going to be our big. Now it's going to be a bit similar. I think I just broke a nail. I did in fact, but it's fine. We are going to do more of this style. It has more archways. It's got little towers on it. No, actually the towers might be in the background. Quick disclaimer, this concept is AI. We're using it for inspiration. We're not using it as a concept. So if it doesn't make sense, it won't because it's AI. Use real artist concepts, guys. It makes your life so much easier. Don't be like me. Right. So let's do a box. Let's start with the box. Now for this building, what do I want to do? Let's make it... No, let's focus for half a second. Let's first get something going, then I can focus on the details. Now, generally speaking, you want a relatively clear idea of what you're going for before you start. I sometimes like living on the edge and I don't decide what I want to do beforehand. Do I regret it? Yes, always. I always regret not planning beforehand. But you know, we're running with it. We're running with it. In terms of height, let's do 5. Is that too high? Isn't it too early for you right now? It's currently 8:23. So it is quite early. But I typically get up at 5:30. So it's not too bad. I was just slightly behind schedule this morning, which, you know, it's one of those things. I got the stream up on time. My brain is just not functioning the way it should this early in the morning. So there's that. Right, so I think for this one, I don't know. Take a cup of coffee, I guess. I've had to. I live on coffee. I cannot survive without coffee. Coffee keeps me sane. Right, so we can approach this one of two ways, right? We can build from scratch, which is the fun option. I love building things from scratch, which kind of defies the purpose because I've got this whole other network that I can technically adjust to suit the needs of a new project. So there is that. So which approach am I going to follow? I think what? You know what? I think we're going to rework the other one. For the reason, okay, first it's going to be quicker. But secondly, you guys have seen me build things from scratch so many times. So let's park the first idea and actually grab this one. Now, the parts we won't be needing is probably the top floor. We're not going to be utilizing that. So I'm actually going to delete that. And I've broken in a bunch of stuff. Do not worry though. So that is match size. We don't need that. We don't need this. Alright, brilliant. And then this goes that way. In terms of the roof, we no longer want those planks. Where are you? Roof, match size, roof planks. That is these guys. Okay, so we can actually delete everything here. All right. This is the roof that gets merged to that. And then we've got a color somewhere that is really messing stuff up. So let's remove that. All right. Now, this building is too small. Way too small, obviously, because we're going for a tall building. I'm not mad at the roof, however. I'm not mad at it, but do we maybe want to remove the dormers? Possibly. But yeah, bottom line is, once you've built your network, doing something as simple as deleting the top floor gave us a completely different result, which is fun, because we could keep this as it is and have that as a second house option. If we move that across, plop that away, change a few parameters that way, and let's do different door for the front. There we go. That's the back, actually. Different door for the front. And then we can swap out the back as well. Let's do the back. Let's do no door for the back. Is that what we want to do? You know what? Yes, it is. And yeah, then you've got basically a different house. For very minimal effort. I mean, that took 5 minutes. Right. What we might want to do for that one, because I'm actually going to keep that as it is make it taller. I think that would look better. Now the height of this window is very wonky now. Let's see how we can quickly fix that. Usually I place a control that adjusts the window height. I didn't in this case, but that's fine. That's stairs, stairs, more stairs, windows left, windows right, windows back, windows front. I think this is the placement. Yeah. We can plop that there. Right, brilliant, brilliant. That is functional. Right, let's duplicate it again. And then again, we're going to delete these ones. We could also just have the top floor and remove the ground floor, so to speak, but I'm not gonna go too deep into that right now. Alright, so that goes into there. These get deleted. Planks get deleted. Color gets deleted. And then it gets merged back up. Right, so. We do want a second floor. It's just not going to be this one, the original one. But before we do that, I'm actually going to want to change the ground floor, so to speak. I think in this case, I don't want stairs. This one is going to be without stairs. So let's remove the stairs. That's going to be stairs front and back. Right. But now you'll notice the doors are too high. So if somebody wanted to go inside, obviously too high. So what we do then is we'd remove the height of them. So that's going to go related to the doors. Those are windows. Where's my doors? That's the roof. Am I actually crazy? This is a door back. Front door. Brilliant. So the match size. At which point is the height getting adjusted? Before this. So That's at that point, I think. Or no, even prior to that. Even from the Arch Boolean itself. Why would I have done that? Why did I do that? Let's see. Let's zero that out. Then the same would have to be done. Possibly. I think we'd actually want a slightly negative, just a minute negative value, just to account for the fact that, how do I put it? To account for the fact that we want the Boolean to also delete the bottom of the box. If we don't change the height for it, it's not going to delete the bottom. Let's try that much. Might not be enough. Let's see. Perfect. Perfect. Right. Now, I'm quickly going to check what would have happened if I did not change that. So let's zero that out quickly. Actually would have been fine. It actually would have been fine. Would never have known. Okay, great. So we don't have to do that, which is very convenient. However, why is my door crooked? Let's check the back. Why is it doing that? That's so annoying. Let's just resample. There we go. That should, in theory, fix it. But now we've got that little thing. You said I am crazy, and this reminds me of a meme. Share it in the Discord. But I am a little bit crazy. I mean, quite frankly, you have to be in this industry. Just a teeny bit though. You don't have to be very crazy. You could just be a little bit crazy. Makes life more fun. Right. So we've got that working. Next thing we want to be doing is probably switching up the door situation. I think in this case, well, if we take the back, we do have a door in the center, which is part of what I want. The second thing I want is what? So I would want this to be the front. And then for the bat, actually. I want this to be even taller. So let's do 2. And then I'm going to move actually first going to swap the front out. So the front is going to be that one. I'm actually not mad at the higher up windows. So you know what I'm going to be doing is for the front of the top floor. So I'm basically going to be combining the 2 floors. I'm going to move the windows up and these guys are going to move down. So let's do that. Placement hard. Oh, that's that side, is it? Yeah. I did not implement a control for the left side, which is very annoying. Right, let's find it. That's going to be window floor left. I think it's that one. Let's see. Windows, back windows, front windows, side, this one. Right, let's see. Yeah. Now, why is that breaking my everything? There's a second match size, so what if we do it at this point instead? Yeah, that's better. That is better. Now that's already telling me that I do in fact need a control for the height of these if I want it to be very editable. Crazy ones. And locked to me in a rubber room or yeah. Right. Well, there's that, isn't there? There's that. Right, so let's see. We need to adjust the windows for the front as well. I've not got a control for that either, which is actually starting to annoy me because I'm now having to jump into my network. Which is why I overdo it for the controls. It is. It's just one of those things. Right. So that, and then for the back, pretty much the same. So I want to grab this value. Is it going to be this one? Hello, what happened to you? What happened to you? Mirror. Boolean. Split. Did I break the split? Why are we not working? Let's quickly template this one. It should work. That gets merged there, and that is still functional. Why are you being weird? Can we adjust the boolean? I wonder. No, it's not the boolean that's the problem. The boolean's perfect. And why are you being weird here? That is fine. That is fine. This is fine. That's a door though. What's this guy doing? That is also fine. But wait. You need to split out between that. That is working. Okay, the other side is boolean. I know that's technically not going to work, but I just want to see whether I get a different result. And I do. Why are you working now? I didn't change anything. Question, how will you make everything quads after doing boolean using nodes? Probably some form of a remesh. So what I would do is firstly go to here. Then step one would be a bevel. Just because bevels look prettier. I have a better reason than that. And then I just do a slight bevel to make it a little bit more clean. Not really clean, I wouldn't exactly call this clean, but it looks prettier. And then, what would it be called? I think it's remesh. Actually not do it selecting that because sometimes it can be problematic. So let's do quad remesh. We don't want it to be that many, we'd maybe want, let's say 1,000. maybe even less than that, but let's start there. That is awful. It's one of these settings. I can't remember the exact one. But bottom line is you do a remesh. Let's try remesh. And then just quickly close that down. We do adaptive. And then fingers crossed that is the right value. I usually keep things at the default before I mess with it, just because sometimes things can get a little bit bonkers. Let's give that a second to load. So basically, this would eventually get retopoed, right? I'm no fair believer you actually do need to retopo your work. So this would be to get it more functional, normal direction wise, and just more functional in general. But you would then retopo this to get a proper low, and this would turn into your high. It's not a very detailed high. You can make it more detailed than I currently am. You can add bricks to it via copy to points or something like that, equivalent to that, and then you can get better topology. But this would just be to get a functional high you could bake with. I'm actually going to cancel that operation. Don't crash on me, please, no. But also, depending on the engine you're going in, this does not need to be quads. It can be triangles as well. So, let me see if I can quickly... Adaptive mode to the rows here. Okay, so let's put that at 1. No. Right, we're gonna manually type it in. We're gonna see if my PC will die, because it's usually not a fan of remesh. Okay, I'm not gonna demo that because that's gonna take too long. It's just gonna take too long. Come on. But bottom line is you would do a remesh and go from there. There is other remeshing options than that one. There's remesh camera, remesh grid. What does that do? You can do a fast remesh. What does that do? Triangles are fine as long as the mesh is not going to be animated. Exactly. Exactly. Turns out that is nothing. Hello. Remesh sheets, fuse remaining, recompute normals, etc, etc, etc. That's not doing anything. Why is that not doing anything? Who knows? But yeah, bottom line is that's what I would be doing. I would remesh it and then retopo it. For some of these, you don't need it. For example, for the door planks, obviously, and that type of thing. But for the actual Boolean part, I'm curious because I used something before and it did a brilliant job, but I just don't know what it's called. It could have been a triangulate. Was that? It was a triangulate. Which would also technically give you some form of a topology that looks awful. But this would be technically functional, though I'm a big hater of triangles. I'll be honest, I hate triangles. I know they're not technically awful, but I did like them. But this would prevent the weird shading issues you sometimes get with this type of mesh. Not gonna lie, this can be hard to unwrap. No. So you would actually probably, what I would probably do is take it into Maya at this level and just connect up the edges. And then I can just select an edge loop and cut it. But Houdini also have, with triangles I get confused which it seems. Always on the 90-degree corners. You can actually do at this point, right? And then you can triangulate it. It's going to give you less of a confusing part. The only downside to this function is you aren't going to be able to select edge loops, which I find very annoying, which is why I despise triangles actually. But there's that. I wonder if you can quadrangulate it. No, that needs to be a Q. Labs. Quadrangulate. Oh, wow. That is awful. Negative. What does that do? No, we don't want a long processing time. Don't know what that is. Fullback, triangle fan. What's this? That is actually awful. Why would anyone use this? Anyway, so that's not something that works. Let's see. Surely they've got the tool for this. Quad sphere. Quad remesher. What does this give us? I've just crashed everything. Is it gonna die? Did I just kill it? I think I did. I think I killed it. Actually, I've got this little pop-up. Interrupt. We're gonna get rid of it. Can I get rid of it? Please tell me yes. But yeah, bottom line is I wouldn't trust Houdini to do my root topology for me. I love Houdini, don't trust it for it. So bottom line is I would take this and retopo it and then go from there. That'll make UVs easier and so on. I can even do the beveling in Maya if I really wanted to. Is there ways to do it in Houdini? I did think it was going to crash. Sure, there is ways to do it in Houdini, but ugh, my PC is not happy with me. I spent so many points. I did get notifications for that. What did you do? DJ mode. I don't know how to activate that. What? Okay, so here's the thing. We've got copyright. So if you can find me uncopyrighted music, I'll play it for you. Because I can't do copyrighted music. Otherwise YouTube will kick me off. So let's quickly find that file and hope we have a crash report. Let's see. And I need to remember where it saves to. That's going to be probably over here. Is it going to be under that? Where's temp? There we go. Let's see, Houdini temp. It did not show the crash thing. You know what that means? That means we're starting over, guys. Hard to find good music here. Yeah, that's why you guys get gaming music. That is why you guys get gaming music. So, fun fact. Firstly, I have not saved since I started working on this. Secondly, it's crashed. And thirdly, it did in fact not save a crash file. So, there's that. Let's do that one, that one, that one, That means all my organization is out the window. I'm not very happy about this development. But yeah, it's hard to find good streaming music. It is one of those things. What can I say? So I'm just quickly waiting for the file to open back up. I wonder why my notifications aren't working. Because technically when you activate things like DJ mode, I should get a notification that you did. But that does not work. That does in fact not work. Right. Is this the right file? Because I see a whole lot of nothing. Geo. This file is empty. Why is this file empty? It's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. I had a moment of panic that my file got corrupted or something. It's fine. Thankfully, not correct. I barely use Twitch. I don't know. It's probably related to Restreamio or OBS. I'm not quite sure why, because that also means if somebody follows, I won't get a notification, which is annoying, because if somebody follows, I want to thank them. Right. Let's close that down. I'll probably reconnect things and see if it is from me. You might have to decrease the sound. Or increase it. So there is that. There is that. Right, brilliant. We've got a file open. We've lost all progress, literally. Our organization is out the window. Our everything is out the window. Right. Getting my thoughts in order here. I'm not going to reorganize everything. That's going to be annoying. This music is so loud, though. Not sure if the music is too loud for you guys. Let me know, because it is too loud for me. I've turned it slightly. You have to increase. It is at, let's see. It is at max volume, actually. It is at max volume. I suspect it's probably related to the link itself, because we were changing settings around. And I think maybe the link to the alerts thing changed, and I haven't updated it. It could be that. But to be fair, it never worked from the start. I had trouble with it. I just ignored it, which is not a good thing. Right. Let's get rid of the top floor again. And get rid of this thing. I think it's this part. Planks. Yeah. Planks will be gone. Thankfully with these types of things, the second time around is always quicker. Because I already know what I want to do. So we can then increase the height to 2. And then while we're at it, are we going to implement controls for these guys? No. We're going to focus for a second. That's what we're going to be doing. We are going to remove the stairs again. Stairs front, stairs back, stairs basement. So these can all go. I barely hear the music. Okay, wait. Let me turn that a bit up. Let's do filters. Better? Possibly. Yeah, let's do that. And then if the music is now too loud, let me know. Music has always been interesting to figure out in the sense of volume wise, because for some reason my headphone specifically changes the volume of it. So it's a lot louder for me than it is for you guys. So there's that. Right, so we've got that. Now we need to increase the height for these front windows and lower the thingamajig down. So that's going to be minus 0.005. But it is more related to games. To game. Oh wait. I see now. You can get many non-copyright music on OpenGameArt.org, but it is more related to game. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. My current music is also game music. It's just ones I found on Spotify. So there is that. Right. So that's the door. Door was fine. We now need to change the height of the windows, and then we'll almost be back to where we were. Thanks. No. Windows left, so that's going to be this match size. And then we can plop that higher. No, actually we want this to be lower, right? Because we have a control for this, don't we? Probably not. Not for this side. That one. Right. So that can get lower down to about the right of the door. And then we need the same for the windows. Right. And then we'll need a different value for Windows front. That's not the front. This is the front. Let me quickly swap out the front door. Oh, that's stair size. Right, that one. That's what I get for not putting on contact lenses this morning. Alright, so let's see. That's going to be Windows back, Windows front, match size, bada bing. There we go. And then for Windows back, we're also going to be changing the height. So that it goes here. Right. That's more or less what I had in mind, and then we can go into the control to adjust the height of the windows on the right side. So that's going to be placement height. Oh wow, we can't copy that value. Oh, how annoying. I wonder if we take that, but remove the minus, will that give us more or less what we want? Yeah. There we go, and then we can plop that on top. Alright, so that's no longer functional, that's fine. What else do I want to add to this? I want a second floor. And I want stairs. And another door. I want to do like a door on the side, maybe on this side, or yeah, let's do this side. That'll cover the windows though. Unless we remove these two windows, have the stairs going up here, have a door here. Now the roof is broken at the moment, but I'm not too worried about that because that's easy enough to fix. So let's focus on the second floor. Now we've got two options. We could keep this all as one block, or we can copy another one on top. But let me think what we're gonna do. Let's keep it as is. But I'm actually going to be putting the stairs on this side because I've got a lovely control for this side, which can control the number of copies. Hello. It's actually from the other side. Oopsie. Alright, so it's actually for this side. And I want one copy, and that the stairs can now go this way. Alright. I think, yeah, that should be fine. In terms of the stairs themselves, I'm trying to think what the best way to create them would be. I think what we're going to be doing is we are going to create a cube. Right. We are going to flatten it to 0.25. I lie. We are going to go to 0.1 or less. Let me template the... Oh, that's going to be less. So that's going to be 0.25 maybe? No. Let's do around about that. Then I'm just quickly going to copy these so that it's flat on the ground. And then we are going to do copies and transform. Copy and transform. Now, I want the stairs to go up that way. Right? So these need to go up that way as well. So it's going to go up by 0.05 and across by not that direction, this direction. What do you think? Let's try that. I firstly don't think the stairs are tall enough. So let's actually change that. Let's try 7.5 and then we take this to 7.5 as well. And then we are going to take this to try 9. 0.125. I don't know, something like that. Because we do want some form of a... We don't want square steps quite. So let's do that, and then we are going to use this to Boolean. So I actually don't want this to be this tool. Might want to change the placement of the original box, so let's move that way. And then we also want to create another box. And this is the box that will get booleaned out, or the stairs will get booleaned into it. So, let's copy that parameter and paste it to there and say, no, paste it here. Multiply by 0.5 to get that flattened out. And this is currently still centered, so that's fine. And then we would want this to be bigger. Alright. Might want this to be bigger as well so that it doesn't create that weird thing. So let's make it, I don't know, like that. And then move it more that way. Scale it a little bit more, just so that it's booleaning everywhere I want to boolean. And then we can make this a bit bigger because I don't actually want this piece to be so small. let's forget all of that for half a second and just look at what it looks like. Brilliant. Let's see. Plop that into there, plop that into there, and that is awful. I want the reverse of that. I want the reverse of that. Can I just plop these into separate networks and have the reverse? No, I cannot apparently. Because technically this is exactly what I want, just upside down. So there's that. Let's try. It should be subtract, but I don't know why it's giving me that. Weirdness. Why are you being weird? Is it related to this? Maybe we do like that. We'll fix it. And indeed it does. So this box is, I think, flat on the ground. At least it should be. If it's not, that's part of our problem. Indeed it is. So what we're going to do is copy that parameter, paste in there. No, not the translate. Times 0.5. Alright. That should be better already. And indeed it is. Right, so let's quickly template our main building, just so I can see what it's doing scale-wise. Now, the stairs are technically the height I want them, but I don't actually like how slowly it tapers up. So I'm wondering if we maybe change that a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's do 0.1. Yeah, that's better. And then let's just start positioning it just so I can get an idea of what we're working with. Let's do this way. Now this is too wide actually, but I just want to see what it looks like. I'm not too concerned about the details as of yet. Am I going to be worried about that later? Yes, I am. But for now, I just want to get it functional. We would technically want that part to be roughly square. Let's merge that up. Let's plop that into there. Right. Now, the next question is, where would I want the stairs to be? Because I suspect we'd actually want this to line up with the black here, just so it doesn't look so unfinished. Let's do... Don't want it going through. The problem, however, is if we template the thing, very descriptive there. If we template this, or view this rather, let's see where I can actually show you guys it. Let's see, maybe here. We don't have a lot of room to be booleaning doors. Actually, you know what? We might be okay. But this will give us a relatively small door, which we also don't want. Because actually, you know what? We can do the small door. But I do want it to be slightly bigger. So see what we can do about that. Maybe like that. And then I'm just quickly going to adjust the placement a little bit just so it lines up again. So let's do that. There we go. I'm not going to work with this in template mode just because I can't actually see how it lines up. Because it looked lined up before, but now that I'm in the other view, we can actually see it doesn't line up. So we want that to be perfectly aligned. Why am I bothering with this? I can actually use a... I'm making my life very difficult. I could just use a match size. I could just use a match size. Right, so that goes into there, and I'd actually grab that for reference. And then I don't want to do anything either of those. I want probably need to plop this into that and view that, right? Right, then template that, view this, then we should be able to see. Brilliant. So what we actually want to be doing is, let's see what this one does. That moves it to the side. So we technically want this to be on the outside of this one. So we need the reverse of that. Minimax. There we go. Now we would make this narrower so it actually fits on the outside. And then we don't want to adjust height, but we do want to adjust this. So let's do max. That should line it up. Now if we ever change the size of the house, it'll still be functional. Alright, so that's that. And then in terms of this, I actually want to change the scale length on this. So that will be not the height, it'll be the width. 0.5. Right, now we can view it. Obviously the roof is broken. We might want a second window. Let's do a second window. Let's go to the control and then do a second window. Placement height. Don't want to move that. Let's see. If we move that closer, we can fit 2 windows. But ideally, I would actually want this copy to be taller. So let's jump over system and pop into Windows right, I think. Let's do Windows right, and then I'm going to go to the copy and transform. And actually change the height of this, right? And then I want to go slightly to the right on the copy, just so that it looks a little bit more plausible. The height, let's say placement. Brilliant. Brilliant. Now I know the roof is broken. Again, not too concerned about that right now. We're just looking to get this functional for now. We could do 3 copies and adjust the placement even more. Possibly the height. Window scale, window, copies, placement, height. Is there any way I can change the placement of the original copy? Apparently not. That's inconvenient. I should have implemented something like that. But okay, we've got that. Next thing I want is the door, obviously. So the door is going to come from one of these networks. That's the planks. Window, door front. Let's grab that. Duplicate it. See what we have to work with. Obviously this. That gets grouped. Match sized. Merged. match size, mirror, merge. At which point is this getting rotated there? It's not. Right. Okay, so let's do after it's combined with everything. So, at the switch point, let's do... What are you going to call it? Because we actually don't want the window. We don't want the window. Where is the window coming in? Here. Don't need that. No, reverse. Actually, yeah. Gets mirrored. Don't need the mirror. Don't need the switch. I do need the split though, so that I do need. And then I do want to rotate this. So let's do... Probably at the merge, we can do a transform. Please don't freeze, please don't die. Let's save. That's going to be the first plan of action. Right, so we are going to do a transform. Plop that into there, and we are going to rotate by 90. And then I hope this is the right 90. It might be minus, but we are going to run with it. In terms of everything, I'm just going to zero these out. And then... So we want that one. Let's do max. And then slightly inwards. We also want this to be smaller, so let's actually do width, and that's going to be in that direction. I don't know. Actually, now that we've rotated, which way are we scaling? Let's say like that to 0.6. That gets match sized. And then we want it on this side, so that's going to be max. Min. No? Min. Max. Brilliant. And then we can just plop that into there. Right. That gets split out. So this side is the actual window frame. Well, not the frame, the door. The other side should be, in theory, the boolean. Right. So the next thing we need is height. These guys are getting a little bit squishy, which I don't like, but anyway, we're working with it. And then we need to adjust the height according to the stairs. So that's going to be, I'd say, it's going to be max. Probably going to be max. This window might also be too tall, but we'll see how we handle that. Right, so the placement does actually not evolve. So let's go maybe like that, and then in terms of the height, we technically want it to be there, but it is too tall. So in the transform, we can change the height to 0.9 maybe. Which also makes our screws, rivets, whatever you want to call them, less squished, which I'm happy about. Right. No. What else do I want to change? Honestly, I want, what do you call it? I want the roof. So let's see what we can do about the roof. The first plan of action is going to be to remove the doorways, because I don't actually want a doorway on this one. So let's remove the... What did I do? Is the dormer Why can't I delete it though? Because that's the roof. Why does everything break? Body extrude. That goes to there. That goes to there. Why are you getting off to the side? Why aren't you at the center of the world? Because the center of the world is over there. What did I do over here? Box. I want you in the center. That's so weird. That is literally so weird. It is in the center here, it's just not in the center of the world there, which is even weirder. But okay, so that gate goes into there, that goes into there. In terms of the match size, what we actually want is that one. Alright. No, I lied. Let's remove the match size. And that goes poly extrude. The mirrors get voided. And that gets plopped into platform. We don't need a platform because we've removed the planks. And that gets plopped into there, and then in theory it should work. Right, it doesn't. For the reason we've got stairs. So what we'd actually want to do is do the match size prior to the stairs. We don't need... Do we need this match? Technically no. We just need to reconnect that up with... don't even think we need to do that. Alright, so let's see. This can go into... Technically that match size, that is in here. There we go. Right, so that's roof. Uniform scale, maybe? And this is sort of why I don't like subnets this much, because it does things like that. Let's template this. And view that. Because not only, why is it moving? I don't understand why it's moving. But okay, let's see. Let's do mu match size, just so I can have a clean slate. That goes into there. That goes into there. No, other way around. That one. That one. And instantly it's off to the side again. Which is so weird. Right. Let's take it back to where it was. And then we can see what we can do about the matter. Right, so we don't want to do uniform scale. We do want to scale it. That is too big though. There's a transform. That's also adjusting scale, so that's probably part of the problem. Let's avoid that. And there we go. I think that should do the trick. And in fact it did. Brilliant. Right, so that's working. Let me just quickly remove all our templates. Brilliant. So that's that side, this is this side, and then that is that side. We would technically want... Would we want another floor? Or is this good enough? Let's move this off to the side and see what we're working with. Nah, that's fine. That's fine. And then the other thing I want is, let's quickly copy that one. And then we're going to save again. Right, and then we're going to delete these guys, and we are going to delete not the roof, but the roof planks. Now, we did this earlier, but again, it crashed, so bear with. That gets merged, that goes into the control, this gets voided, that gets voided, that gets merged. And that gets merged. Which gives us this, and then what we would want to do is go to our control and actually swap out some of the parts, just to give us a different result. So the front would change to, for example, 2 doors, or 1, I'm not sure which. Let's quickly check. Right, so that will be fine. And then we can change the back to perhaps no door. Why does this break this though? Oh, got it. Roof. Let's remove that transform. Let's plop into there. That is now fixed. Now the roof is going too far forward. But if we place 2 pillars at those points, that could give us an interesting result. We're gonna run with it. Why not? Let's grab a cube. We are going to copy the height, paste that into the position, multiply it by 0.5. That'll just basically flatten things. Let's let's template that, and then we can take a look at this. In terms of height, we would want it to match size. Let's do match size, so let's delete that. That'll be 0. And then we can do the match size. That'll be based upon the size of the house itself. So we'll grab it at this point prior to the roof being added. So that'll go into there. Then that'll be scale to fit, but I don't want uniform scale. I only want the Y channel. And then I can change this to 0.1 maybe? Let's try 0.1. Yeah, that's right about right. 0.1. And then I want to go to this corner. So let's do this corner, that's fine too, but let's see what that gives us. There we go. And then the same for this one, max min. That's the wrong corner. Min and max. And there we go. However, maybe in this case we actually want the roof Right. We're gonna do two match sizes. The first will be based upon the height of the original box. The second will be based upon the size of the roof, which will determine which corner the plank goes to, the pillar goes to. So we're actually going to grab that much, I think. So that's going to go into there. Now this time we're not going to be scaling. We're only going to be transforming. So that's going to be maximum, minimum. I lie. The reverse. Min and max. Probably. That'll be none in the height. Or we can center it. Let's do none. There you go. And then this one will also be maximum. Right, but that takes us to the exterior corner, which is fine, but we actually want it to be slightly in. So what if we center that? We're actually listening to the Sims 4 music. I was wondering where that sound was coming from. It sounds familiar. The only game I actually play. Right, so let's get that centered first. Let us get that centered first. I think that's about right. So that would be max and same for the side as well. We might want to squish this a little bit in the height though, because that's not gonna fit under it. Let's see. Plop that a little bit inwards. Will I regret adjusting this manually? Most likely yes. But we're doing it. Right, and that will get mirrored and then it will get merged. So that'll go that way and then that'll get merged. And we are officially making progress. That template is going to get removed. Very boring pillars, but it is functional. Right. Let's go here. And that can get moved to the side. We might want to swap that out for the 2 doors again. Let's pop into there. Where's my control? Swap that out for that. Brilliant. Brilliant. We are making progress. Now technically we very quickly built 3 different versions of the house with the same node network, which is quite fun. And it's also 3 different heights, so we can play a lot with placement and so on and so forth. I would actually want this to be the front in the final environment, because I prefer this front to that one. Let's quickly rotate that by 180 just to get a better picture of what we're working with. Yeah, that's much better. And that is much better. Let's think, what else are we going to be working on? Right, so we've got 3 different houses. We've not got a taller one than this though. So there is that, but maybe we can do that with a tower instead. Have taller towers rather than taller houses. We'll see when it comes to the actual assembly what sections we need. All right. Let's see if there's anything else I want to work on today. This is our list, so to speak. We've technically covered the small building and the big building, and then we've got a medium building as well. The only downside to all of these is they're all the same width. We don't have a wide building, which is quite annoying. We could potentially widen this one, make it like a flat house. Let's play with that. Let us play with that. So that's going to be the original box, and then fingers crossed nothing breaks. And let's do 3.5. That's wrong. Technically that just made it longer, not wider. Let's do... remove the dormers, I might like it more. I just think that's slightly too wide. Let's try 3. Now see, that's better. That is better. And then we can swap out the back, because there's only a little bit of detail in the back. So I'd actually add the door back in. And now we will technically need the what? We would technically need another mirror. Can we do both mirrors in one? Let's try that. No. No, we cannot. How unfortunate. Okay, we're doing a second mirror. And this one is going to be in the Z direction. There we go. We might also want one in the center. But let's leave it like that for now. I still think that's slightly too wide. So I do want it wider, but this is looking like obnoxiously flat. We could potentially make this taller to account for the wideness, but then it's also the same height as the other house, so there's that. Let's see if that already looks better. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Right, and I think that'll be all for today. Thank you for joining me, guys, and I'll see you all next time.